To many of us, slavery is an issue of the past. After all, the 13th Amendment freed all slaves in America and abolished the institution of slavery. In 2017, for many Americans, the word slavery seems distant and is only encountered in history books. However, slavery is a major ongoing problem in many parts of the world that destroys the lives of millions of innocent people. One particular group of marginalized people who are victims of modern-day slavery are the refugees of Libya, who are brutally separated from their families, assaulted, and sold. Their stories and sufferings attracted little international attention until a video of an auction was captured recently.
عاوزين نرجع عشان نحكي شوية عربي. يعني بقدر هو مستمر المزاد؟
لا خلاص
هو كان كم نفر؟
12 نفر.
I'm speechless. I don't know how to put this into words. There were human beings auctioning off other human beings. And even though there didn't appear to be any weapons that we can see, these people were brought out from that room one by one, and the whole environment, the whole feel was one of duress. The utter casualness of that. I mean, when we walked in, there was clearly a lot of nervousness, a lot of suspicion, and people started covering their heads, but they still kept going, and they were referring to these human beings that they were selling as merchandise.
The slavery issue began plaguing Libya when the Gaddafi regime was overthrown in 2011. Since then, Libya has experienced major civil unrest and government instability. As a major commercial hub in northern Africa and a gateway to reach Europe, thousands of African refugees and migrants who fled their country due to poverty and war came to Libya with little money and no papers. Their lack of documentation made them vulnerable to exploitation. Many were kidnapped by smugglers and were forced to pay a ransom for their freedom. Those who failed to pay were often sold in nearby cities for as little as $400, or tortured and executed. There are even reports of organ harvest and cannibalism.
I was sold. On my way coming, I was sold. So after I was sold, they asked me to demand a ransom. The pusherman that put me from Nigeria, I gave him money, he did not pay. So they said since he did not pay, he did not pay that money. They now sold me. I was there, the person who came to buy me gave the man money. They asked you to pay money, so probably you must have been there for like 3 months. They will start beating you. From a week, they will start beating you so that your money will come quickly. So I was there for 8 months before I could pay my money and I went out. If you look at most of the people here, if you check their body, you see the mark, they're beating. With electric, even your boot or they took something like a sharp object. Understand? Most of them lost their life there. Many are dying every day. No phone call. Their family will be thinking that person is dead. He has lost it for our life. Know that he's just in one place suffering.
According to data, hundreds of migrants, like Victory, most of them from Nigeria and Senegal, are sold across Libya each week. However, international efforts are currently being made to help the refugees in Libya. Hundreds of protesters around the world protested in front of Libyan embassies, and many world leaders, such as UN Secretary General and the presidents of France, Niger, and Nigeria, have all voiced their anger and opposition. On November 30th, 2017, a task force dedicated to fight migrant abuse in Libya was formed by the United Nations.
I could fly one of them planes if I had a chance. Yes, sir. Or you go to hell. Yes, sir. I could fly one of them planes if I had a chance.
You could if you wasn't black. Or if you had some money. Or if they'd let you go to that aviation school, you could, baby.
The sufferings of African refugees in Libya are similar to the experiences of Bigger Thomas in the book Native Son. Both Bigger and the refugees experienced overt institutional racism, a term referring to the systematic ways a society restricts a race of people's access to opportunities. In the case of Bigger, he suffered many inequalities and discriminations for being black. For example, he was forced to live in a rundown apartment in an impoverished neighborhood and pay higher rents than white people. In a racially segregated America, even bread, the most basic commodity, is more expensive in black neighborhoods than white neighborhoods. The mistreatment caused Bigger to feel imprisoned by his own race. Similarly, migrants in Libya also face institutional racism. Not only are they sold and kidnapped in recent years, they also suffer from other forms of racial discrimination as a result of Libya's deep-rooted racism and xenophobia. Libya is a predominantly Arab country that has a long history of racism towards dark-skinned sub-Saharan Africans. The anti-African sentiment in the Libyan society made it difficult for refugees in Libya to find jobs and made them easy targets for violence. In 2000, more than 600 dark-skinned migrants were killed while a Libyan mob shouted the words "Blacks must go." The situation in Libya also relates to the concept of intersectionality, the notion that one aspect of an individual's identity does not necessarily determine other categories of membership. For example, both the refugees who are sold as slaves and their kidnappers and slave traders are Africans, an aspect of their identities that they share. However, the differences in other aspects of their identities, such as race, skin color, and country of birth, made one the sufferer and one the abuser.